And so, when you see an actual glossy magazine sitting, on your coffee table, you think, oh, this was made in New York by these, sex workers and allies, and maybe they were in some sort of fabulous office rented for them by some John, but that's not the case. We've usually been in some sort of small windowless room in Brooklyn.
Spread for a lot of the staff is beyond a full-time job that is unpaid.
As editors and contributors to the magazine, we, live off each other's pain.
I gather art, talk with editorial, get images and ideas, work on getting cover, work on getting ads for the magazine from advertisers.
We coordinate with the art director to figure out which pieces we're laying out and how to have it laid out.
When design only has 2 weeks to put everything together in an InDesign document, source all the images for the changed articles because we need to find either stock photos or images that are up to the right DPI level.
Work with a photo editor, work with copy editors, work with independent illustrators and photographers.
And when we get to the printer, we'll often send things there, and then something's wrong, it gets sent back.
Work with our advertising director, work with our new media director.
Coordinate with artists and photographers to make sure they know the deadline.
Organize all this, put it together, put it in InDesign.
And that's pretty much when things get really crazy around here.
Organize, overseeing, getting it proofed, keep on top of things, and ultimately send the magazine off to the printer to be printed.
Proof the magazine at the printers, then go back and pick it up at the printers, and bring it back to mail all of our subscriber copies, and then we have our outreach boxes, and then we have our distribution boxes. Our outreach goes to places everywhere from India and Bangladesh to South Africa and the UK and France.
The mailing process is probably the biggest pain in the ass ever. I feel like since I spend so much time doing behind the scenes stuff, by the time it comes out, I'm kind of sick of looking at it.
It's this sort of tragic process that eventually blossoms into this beautiful magazine.
I think it does change the general public's view in terms of who sex workers are, simply by the idea that they can represent themselves.
Sex workers themselves, talking for themselves, that's like the top thing, because like I said before, in mainstream media, sex workers don't get to talk. You get to hear everybody else talking about them and what they've done.
Also, I think one of the other things that I found really interesting about the magazine was identifying the diversity of opinion within the community of sex workers. That there are divisions within the sex work community related to race, related to gender, related to privilege and hierarchies of the kinds of work that people do.
It's really easy to leave out like somebody because it's just easier. So I think that there's something to be said about the fact that Spread magazine is not leaving out a group of people, because it would be more palatable for the rest of the community that wants to read about sex workers.
Spread's editorial line is that we don't actually officially take any position on whether for decriminalization or legalization or for prohibition, but that's just in order to facilitate and open up or make accessible the magazine to people who might disagree, because there are people that are working as pros or working as strippers who don't want to be there, and they write into us or they might want to publish something, and that door's always been open. And we've published those pieces by and for those people and about those people because they're in the sex industry, and that's the point.
Because mainstream media is going to be biased, much like Spread is going to be biased, right, in support of people in the sex industry. That's our bias. I'm not ashamed of that bias. I think it's a great bias. Somebody else might disagree with me. The point is that that version of the story is extremely important and deserves to be put out there.
Why does Spread exist at its founding is different than why it exists now. In a way, it's just inertia, and it's not just inertia, except it's an inertia that's always constantly sustained by letters and emails that make us feel incredibly guilty if we were to ever stop.
I feel like Spread takes it a step above by talking about like the real issues that people are facing on the street and the policing and the larger implications of policing.
And I wish that more people could really read Spread magazine so they will understand what sex workers and what sex work is really about.
As someone who's organized with sex workers for a very long time, I see that it's not haphazard, that there's certain topics covered and that there are certain issues discussed. I see that there's a depth of thinking, and I like that.
I like the vibe of the magazine, which is very matter of fact, but also a little funny, a little edgy.
And I love the section where they have some sex workers who look at products and then say whether they like it or not. I think that's excellent.
I think it's very well written. I think it's very well put together.
It's not like People or anything. It's not full of fantasy and something that I can't touch.
It stands for sex workers. It stands for sex. It stands for sexiness. It's a beautiful magazine, and hopefully one day I'll be on the cover. So.
This magazine doesn't happen if you don't contribute, and your voice is so important as an individual, as a part of this movement, as a worker, or as an ally, whatever the case may be.
I mean, who could not love Spread?
So are you trying to get in commercials for Spread at the same time that you're doing your documentary?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've been totally pimped.
A substance abounds in the heart of man. It's causing erosion, cancer, and scams. The pious and the liars, the ones holding knives, will burn them all out with a touch of ice 9. I rhyme polemical. It's rhythmical and chemical and kind of hyperdramical, but never hypothetical. If I can kiss, well then I can tell. And if I'm smart, I'm gonna do real well. I don't want to be the president, treasurer, or vice. I want to go vegan because then I'll taste real nice.